hey, notice you're a person in marketing.
He 100% thinks in words.
One, like, that seems horrific.
I'm like, it's so obvious.
Can't empathize with that at all.
I know where it is, so like you should.
If they can't do it, like, of course I can't do it.
Dreaming every night about it being the end.
Bro, I'm about to fucking growl up LinkedIn.
Busted your nut with that.
Yeah, way too early too.
Like a sex doesn't sell on LinkedIn.
Fuck that, we're gonna get it done.
All right, welcome to this week. Done this week. So as always, what did you get done this week?
We changed our pricing this week.
Oof,
we went up. So, well, not necessarily up, but our like minimum plan is like 3 times what it was before. So I've had a bit of a crisis, dreaming every night about it being the end. Monitoring Stripe every 5 seconds to see, what's happening. So yeah,
there's something that we said too about like sometimes it's like, oh, it's not the end, but what I find is when you try to do something new, and if you have like a lot of like personal conviction, like that's the right thing to do, and then you start seeing like early numbers of like data that are not supporting your thesis, it feels like horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And like so we completely rebuilt our entire like onboarding flow, because before we literally like you would just create an account, you get shipped into the software. We had a couple like videos, but like no like guided onboarding. And so we put like a ton of effort into, and like I was like, this is gonna be like the best onboarding. I put so much effort into it, and we like launched it, and then we A/B tested it, and the cohort that went through the onboarding just like upgraded 50% less than the people that never went through the onboarding. And I was like, fuck, like, okay, like I don't know what's causing this, but like I guess we have to like gas this. And it was like so much work. But it's like the worst feeling. It makes me think too, like, yeah, if you're like a PhD or like a scientist, like trying to prove your thesis, like I can see like how, like studies become skewed, because you're just like, you really want like the thing that you've been like working on to like prove to be true.
Yeah. It's you want to have,
I mean, to be fair, I don't think you've given enough time yet. Like there's still,
no, yeah, it's only been 2.5 days, but
crisis.
It just feels, it's just tough. Like you're used to seeing like new subscribers all the time, and there's certainly way less. It's at a higher average though. So when I look at the numbers, I'm a bit more relaxed, but it feels like, before it's like new subscriber, even though the value is lower, those still feel good.
Like we all just are making stuff because we want people to use it. And there's a part where you almost are sometimes like, I don't even care if we're not making as much money, like more people, like, like more of the market. I mean, yeah, that line of thinking can go both ways infinitely. So, but yeah, I mean, so that was your main focus this week?
Yeah. How about you?
Moving. So like we moved offices, which was like more work than you're always expecting to like move. Luckily I got like boxes delivered way early. So like packing up was just like, I chipped away at it, but then I was like, okay, I need to unpack all of these boxes. And I don't just want to like, I want to unpack them and like set everything up at the same time. And it was just like way more work than I thought. Like, there was like multiple nights where I was like finish work at 6 and then like be unpacking till 3 a.m. because I'm just like, okay, like 1 more hour is like this stack of boxes, like I don't have to do those tomorrow. And so, but honestly, I'm like super excited about the new office, and like the overall vibe is like way better. Like it feels like really, really good.
You're planning some agency parties, I heard.
That's the plan. I want there to be like, I want to do either like Foreplay Fridays or something. Like the new office is in this neighborhood where there's like a lot of agencies, and we obviously sell to agencies. And I just want, I don't know, you hear all these like startup stories of they had this like thing where like a movie night or like something, and it just like becomes like an anchor in which like you're like known for, or like people are looking forward to. And so I want to do like our version of that, whether it's be a party, but we also like putting like, we have like a sauna and like an ice plunge on the roof. So like maybe we'll do like wellness ones in the morning or something would be like really, really cool. But yeah, just generally I'm like really stoked on the new setup. It feels really good. Like my office is like exactly the way, like I kind of went from, not from scratch, but like aesthetically, I'm just like, man, my office like looks really good. Like I'm like excited to go into it. So that's been my week. And then I'm like hiring right now. We're like, I wanted to just like grow the team. So like hiring more developers, trying to find someone to like help with run marketing. Cause like right now I'm just doing everything on the marketing front. And I would really love for all of my time to be spent on product. Like I do like marketing, but it's not where I feel like I like the results of marketing. I don't like actually being in the weeds of marketing, but I love being in the weeds of product.
I know. Same.
So that's the goal, is by like the end of Q2 that like, if I look at my week, most of it is spent on product is like my goal.
Mm.
So yeah.
Do you guys have an upgrade button in your app that's like you don't have to go to settings to upgrade?
We do not.
Okay.
Do you just
That's
put one
something
in?
we put in this week because
Okay.
we looked around and we're like, you can look at certain competitors where like they A/B test a lot, especially like in our space. There's people that have been doing it for like 10 years, and we realized like the biggest ones like had that. There's other things,
Right,
obviously.
right.
It's like not like that's the reason they're big. But
We did something similar to that where we just made it like very front and center to add seats at any point.
so that's what we changed. So if you're already upgrade, we're like made the button that's like upgrade. Because the reason we did it is someone came to our chat saying like, how do I upgrade? I can't find it anywhere.
Right.
And
That's
I'm like,
an issue.
I'm like, it's so obvious. Just go settings, billing, plan, change. But I was like, yeah, shit, it is a little hard to find. Like, you don't even think about it. You think about it when you're first building it, and then like when you start to design more stuff, like it becomes like an afterthought, and then like it's like,
and then you'll see like some people using it, like, oh, like people must be finding it. Like, it doesn't seem like an issue until you.
And like I know where it is, so like you should. But it's so anyway, we put that button in, but it's with those other pricing changes, so it's hard to say if things change. But yeah, then we changed it to invite team members if you're already upgraded.
Okay, nice.
So we'll see.
we're adding the one change we're doing is we're rebuilding our entire checkout because like right now it's like pretty jank. But what I'm doing, so one thing we're doing is the first time you enter checkout to upgrade after your trial's expired, there's a 99% off discount code that expires in 10 minutes only on their highest plan.
Well, that's cool. And that's if you're...
It's a legit timer counting down.
But that's from when you are signed into the app? Like it's not when your trial expires?
No, it's the first... It will trigger the
your first login.
Yeah, so it's not launched yet. But so it'll be your first login since trial expire. Little countdown timer, 99% off our like top plan. And like so essentially it costs 99 cents to upgrade to our biggest plan, or if you want the smaller plan, it's going to cost $49 that day.
Right.
And so
that's cool.
There's that, and then we're adding like all of our upgrades inside of the checkout. And then what we're doing as well is there's going to be like, I was like, okay, like what can I learn from like my past like life? It's like, oh, like one-click upsells really work after checkout. Like getting more money from people that just gave you money is like the easiest thing if you just give them a reason. And so we're adding a conditional. So if you did not buy annual, the one-click upsell, or sorry, no, we have an add-on called spiders. If you did not get any additional spiders, we then offer you the smallest package of spiders at 50% off forever after you check out. And so it's like, hey, you didn't add spiders, but this is the only time you can get this, like our entry level spider plan for 50% off, and it's just like one button will add it to your order. And then if you did add spiders already, you did check out monthly, it just prompts you again to do annual at the same discount.
Yeah.
It's like, are you sure you don't want to go annual? You save $300 if you go annual. If you click one button, it will just refund the original charge and then recharge you the annual thing. I
love that. I'm gonna think about how we can do stuff like that. What's sick though about your business is like your customers totally get that.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah,
they respect it.
Yeah, they're like fucking all right. Like these guys, yeah, no, 100%.
I'd
like,
be
all
worried
these
of
people are
looking
conversion-focused.
with like the sales niche of looking like used car salesman type. Like,
so I was like worried about that. It honestly comes down to like designing the modal. Like you could design it like a ClickFunnels page, but like the way I design it, I'll show it to you. It's like, oh, like this just really looks like a really great offer.
Yeah.
And also one thing that I've noted, it's just like all of these like little messages prompting people to ask something to do what you want. I put my little like face beside it. So instead of it being like this like face, like whatever, give me more money. It's like, hey, like, listen, like I know you didn't upgrade spiders, but like if this is something you're on the fence about, like add it right now, 50% off the rest of your life. Like, but this is the only time we'll offer it to you. And so like you can like massage it and like.
That's what I always liked about Intercom. Like they made that a part of their product. Like the onboarding is always like the founder. It always had the photo in there. Like a chat always comes with like a person behind it, which like I think others didn't do, which like.
Oh, and then our final confetti page has photos of like the entire team of like little floating and with like little emojis behind, like a thumbs up or like praise hands. Yeah. I'm like, I think it'll be really good. So I'm excited for that to go out. Who knows? Maybe we'll fucking do all this work and then we'll convert less than our jank checkout or something. But I don't think so. Dude. So I've been like watching a lot of like CEO interviews kind of, but like all software founders and I've been noticing there's like a lot more like coming out, like really good ones, not just like they're at a conference, like actually like they're sitting down like, in the office, whatever. And so I found this one from Vlad Magdalin, who's the founder and CEO of like Webflow. And so I have like I have like a story that has like a bunch of tidbits in it, but I also just want to like talk through why I think Webflow is like such an amazing company. And so like I'm a huge fan of Webflow. Like back when I was running the agency, it was one of those tools that when I found it, it was just like, where has this been all my life? Like this, like as a designer that wants to build websites, it was like, from day one, it was like, wow, this just clicks completely. Like there's issues with it, but I would deal with all of the issues because of the core thesis of the product. And I like became like a Webflow advocate in Toronto, which they did like, there's a lot of things to learn from that, where they would you could essentially apply to be an advocate in a city. They would give you a budget every month to run events. And so me and our mutual friend Josh would run these events in Toronto. They would give us like a couple $100, like go get like nachos and beer at like a bar, and like people would actually show up. And anyway, like I've only had like really great touch points with Webflow. And so I really respect the company. And so when I saw this interview come up, I was like, okay, I want to dive into this. And it has like a lot more like really cool, like nuanced learnings than I had thought. And so like right now Webflow is like a pretty large business, but I think they have like a long way to go if you compare them to like Webflow or WordPress or some of these other kind of site builders. Right now it's like publicly they're around $100 million of ARR at a $4 billion valuation. And so Vlad, he was born in Russia, and he started his like professional life. Essentially, his dad was running some sort of store. They had catalogs, and he wanted to convert them into Russian. And so that's how he like learned graphic design, was like his dad needed him to convert some catalogs. That kind of like just segued him into getting a job at like the Russian version of Yellow Pages, where he's doing like banner ads and like just like kind of like learning design as he went along, like super young. I think he was like 15. And then as he kind of like went through his life, he started, and I think like any sort of like creative person that starts like playing around with these tools, you get into like 3D animation, and he started like really obsessing about it. It was like when Pixar was kind of like, they were launching all these amazing like 3D animated movies, and he's like mesmerized by 3D animation. So he becomes a 3D animator, and just like as like hobbyist 3D animator. And then drops out of art school because it didn't make sense, goes into engineering because he's like, I can actually get a job, and like this seems like a better way to spend my money than like art school. And then after graduating, he joined a web development company as a designer. And this is when like the two synapses like really connected, where he was a designer at a web development agency. He would make his designs, but then he would need to hand them off to a developer, and the story of it'd be great if the designer could just build the website. Like everybody had already thought that before, but the framing that he looked at it was like, when I was a 3D designer, these were like 3D design software is like heavily technical. They're not like other like design tools in a way where you're kind of an engineer as well as, and it's just all built into one place. Like the designer is also the person, like you're not handing off your design for someone to rig it. Like you're doing it all. And he's like, why aren't like websites built like 3D animation? And in a lot of ways, like, oh, this 3D animation stuff is like way more complex than like HTML and CSS. This seems super basic. And so he connected these like two parts of just being like, why doesn't it's almost like the Uber for whatever. He's like, okay, what's the 3D animation software for websites? And so he started like obsessing about this idea, because he's like, I'm having this problem right now. I want this product like so incredibly bad. And so he starts, trying to build this company on the side. The thing that surprised me, and I never heard this story before, is that he actually failed 4 times at this one specific idea over the course of 10 years, which is like, you can say like, oh, like they were working on this for 10 years and they like Figma, right? He like quit 3 times, and on the 4th one, it finally worked. And like all of the signals from the market every time he quit almost like affirmed that he quit, right? Like you had companies like Adobe trying to do it with Dreamweaver, and they had another one called Muse, and it's like, fuck, like everyone has this thesis I'm having. And like, if they can't do it, like, of course I can't do it. And so I have some like notes here. So like, yeah, so the first time he shut it down, it was because he was getting married and having a kid. And he's like,
was it always Webflow, or was it these are different companies?
It was, I don't know when they named Webflow, but there's actually like an interesting like thing with the name as well in here. So the first time he shut it down because he was doing it on the side, and he's about to get married and have his first kid. And so he's like, I can't do this like startup thing. After he had his first kid, he found like a co-founder, and like they failed. They couldn't really like get funding. The third time they got funding, they had 2 other co-founders, and then they went to go apply for the trademark for Webflow. They go to apply the trademark for Webflow, and it's like taken by another company. And so like, fuck, like we need to rename this. And so they ended up trying to like name it Marked Up, but he's like, us not getting the name Webflow, he's like, it was so clear that like everybody involved in the project, our motivation just like, it just were like, oh, like they're already like climbing this hill, and they're getting close, and it was just like, fuck, we can't have the name that we were attached to. And so they quit again, which is like after raising funding, all this type of shit.
Just because they couldn't get the name?
But like, I don't think it was just because he got the name, but looking back retrospectively, their motivation started to decrease after that hurdle. Like he's like, there was a bunch, it didn't just happen that day, but like that is what caused like the whole morale for them to just be like, okay, maybe we don't want to summit this mountain anymore, kind of thing. And then in that time, like Weebly got $20 million of funding. And I think that was another like nail in the coffin. Like, okay, they just got all this funding. We can't even get like, like just a lot of stuff kind of like weighing on the founder's motivation, which like that's kind of what you need early on. If you don't have that, you literally have nothing. And then so 4 years after that, he randomly gets a thing in the mail saying that they got the trademark for Webflow because the other company let the trademark expire. And that's what like sparked the idea again. And he's like, okay, we got like, and he's like, okay, maybe I should take like another shot at this. He was in the interview, he was saying that at the time he was like starting to think about this idea. He's like, I still have this idea. Nobody has done this. Like Weebly, like they raised $20 million. They failed. Like I really like, and he had this like so much conviction in this idea of like, if 3D software can do this, then website software can do this. And so, yeah, then he like found new co-founders. One of them was his brother that came on this time. They raised a ton of money. And I was just like reading this story, and I was just like, I was like incredibly surprised that this guy's only had one idea, because like I can't empathize with that at all. Like I'm just like, bro, what do you mean you had one idea you kept going back to? Like one, like that seems horrific. Like failing at something and then trying it again, and like there's one thing to be said about failing and then trying something new, because you have like this like you get all that dopamine of like this new idea, but like, I don't know, opening your closet again and being like this fucking thing that I have like so much resentment towards, and like doing it again. Anyway, I thought it was like super interesting, but I thought the coolest things here was like his like insight of like the 3D, like, because when I use, after hearing that, I was like, oh, I get why Webflow was built the way it was built. Like I understand like the product thesis, like, and like without that, I don't think anybody would have like done it the way that he did it, which was really cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that is crazy to go back to the same idea.
Dude, I know.
I wonder though, like what really caused like the drop off each time. Like,
yeah, he did, like in the interview, he kind of like skimmed over like, and like I just wrote down the notes of like the things that he kind of said.
Yeah.
But I think they were failing at the mission as well.
Right.
Like they weren't actually doing it. And he had also mentioned that all these other people that came before him, they were actually just too early. Like building in browser web technology just wasn't at where it was. And so
but it doesn't have to be in the web. It didn't have to be in the web.
It didn't have to be in the web.
But like, even I remember using Dreamweaver and Muse. And
I do.
Like,
I remember Muse.
I remember seeing Muse and be like, this is
amazing. This is magic. I created a Muse website for my massage therapist when I was like in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were still fundamentally like simple web builders like Webflow or like Squarespace or
like
whatever.
Squarespace or Weebly or like all of these things. But and that's where the insight comes in, is like he was like, no, like the output should be as technically proficient as a developer. What makes Webflow. And like that's what makes Webflow so amazing. That's what makes Webflow available to scale. And like and like I said, I have like a ton of admiration for this company, and like a lot of like what I do, I'm like, okay, what did Webflow do? Like when it comes to like product launches or like the way we do education, all that kind of stuff, I'm just like, oh yeah, those guys that did it right.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, timing might have been right when they did it. And like timing is underrated for how important
timing. And like, I now that I see the thought process of the 3D animation software, I can see it still in Webflow's DNA of like, I don't know if someone didn't have that approach, I don't think that an approach like this would have existed. Like, and now there's like a bunch of Webflow copycats, like everyone's kind of approaching from the same way. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And also it was like, it made me start thinking too, is like, there are like all of these like workflow tools are almost always like built by designers. Like, I think a lot of like pretty solid companies are built by designers, like Airbnb and like, it's.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting is like how slightly different of an idea, like, a lot of times when you're like saying your idea for whatever you want to make to someone, it's like, okay, how is this different? And sometimes you're like, it doesn't sound that different, but
right.
Like,
it's like, oh, but the way I execute it, like, it's like the vision. And that's where I feel like, yeah, like having like, I don't know if I was having the conversation with you where we realized we think differently, or maybe someone else. Do you think in pictures or do you think in words? If I say sailboat, what do you see? Do you see a sailboat?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't think of the text sailboat.
Dude, I've had this conversation with multiple people now, and one of them is, there's people, when you say sailboat, they see the word sailboat.
What?
Dude, it's one of the craziest things. And then someone had asked me, and they're like, oh, like if I say something, like, what do you think about it? I'm like, oh, like a photo of this and like the sun's rising or something. That's what I said. They're like, I'm so jealous of you. But like, apparently it is like, there's like binary difference between people, and like some people like either see like nothing, there's like process, and then some people visualize it. For me, I'm like, and I couldn't imagine like building a company where you didn't think like that. Like, cause you have to see like so much further than anything in front of you.
That's crazy. I didn't even know.
I don't know what it's called.
So I'm gonna ask my COO, because he 100% thinks in words, because he is. Sometimes we're just talking about the button, and I was in Figma making the button, and I'm like, it doesn't look right, like whatever. And he's like, why are you putting like these like gradients and chat? Like he's like, just make it a big green button. I'm like, it's on a purple background. He's like, it doesn't matter, it'll stand out more. I'm like, wow, that is such a difference. But we have a competitor called Seamless, and if you pull up their site, it's ugly. Built by your COO. But he's like, Seamless is at $30 million. Like, look at their pricing page. Like, he's like, well, how does the looks matter? And I'm like, it matters to me for some reason. I
like the word delightful. It's like, I want to build delightful products.
Yeah.
And I don't think, so for example, like your COO, like, I don't think if he used Seamless, he would be pissed off.
No.
If I used it, I would be like, holy fucking shit, get me out of this thing.
Yeah.
And like,
pull up their, go to like seamless.ai/like pricing. It is like,
this looks like I'm getting scammed. Oh, they got purple buttons, bro. They're copying you.
Purple, green, blue. Like,
bro, there's nothing that pisses me off more than these fucking X's that aren't fucking square.
So,
could you imagine ever choosing that X? Add on. Yeah, this is horrible.
It's crazy. You can't even like sign up on your own. You have to get on a phone call. Like, but yeah, like different strokes for different folks.
No, I'm excited for you to like ask him. But you have to do it in person. You gotta be like, oh, like if I say this, what do you like?
What goes in your head?
Yeah, what goes in your head?
Yeah, he'll probably be like nothing. Like,
yeah, what do you mean? You just said a word.
What
am I supposed to think about?
Yeah, he's very like analytical like that. Okay, I had a business idea this week.
Okay.
Man, I would love to do it. But
okay, what
is
it?
I'm not going to. So I got an ad. Obviously, Masterclass has been around forever. And Mark Cuban did a Masterclass.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like that's cool. But I know what this is going to be. It's going to be like not very value add. Yeah, just like kind of like you need to have It's just too like high level, whatever. A Masterclass built for the enterprise, built for companies. Okay.
Like LinkedIn Learning.
But you still have like somewhat high profile people. And if you did someone like Mark Cuban, it wouldn't be like learn business with Mark Cuban. It would be like, what was his first company? It was like broadcasting.com or something like that. Maybe that's too old, or like how to build a personal brand as a business person by Mark Cuban. Or this Webflow guy, like how to build how to build great product and stick to your vision. Like
Right.
very like
Niche.
niche specific things that are like really valuable to that person. And you would start with a few, and the way the model works is they pay them up front a certain amount. These people would be less. Maybe you say, hey, it's going to take us like 3 days. We're going to work with you, but it'll be good for your personal brand as well. We'll pay you like 50 grand. We'll come shoot,
Or
and
royalty.
then you'll get royalties.
Yeah.
So kind of like Spotify-ish.
Yeah.
And then you say, you go to the Webflow guy, you build that. Then you have a few. Now you can start reaching out to Webflow competitors, and they're going to be like, whatever, $2,000 a year, just get it. Like we're going to get like some learnings from it. And then you start to build out this like massive repertoire of things that are like in the middle of like tactical and like high level, like, but like hyper specific. And I think like every founder would just want like a subscription, but you can really get into the weeds of like, okay, sales. Now I go click sales, and there's like 50 sales leaders, and I might know like 10 of them already because they're like LinkedIn influencers or whatever, where like you don't have to pay them much, and they just get paid royalties.
So I think the issue with that is two things. I think the reason Masterclass works is because it's broad as fuck. And so I think for your model to work,
you charge more.
You got to charge like an exorbitant amount more, because like the way you market it can't be sexy. Like it's literally like the hook for your version is like, oh, this isn't bullshit sexy. Like this is actually a class.
Right.
And so I think you're kind of taking a hit on like, okay, if you were to say, I want to build an education company, I still think it might be better to like go really, really broad if you were to spend time doing it.
Like
I think you'll make more. I think you'll make more money. Yeah.
Yeah, but first of all,
and then I think the other problem with education always is like actually getting people to go through the course. Like you can like, it's pretty like public. Everyone's like who like runs any sort of education business is like, oh, like our average completion rate is like 6%.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's like if you get 6%, like people are actually using it. And so I think knowing that it's like it's like a gym membership. All of your money is coming from people that just want to be motivated and don't take not there's like fixed costs with taking the class, but like there's like you're giving up a massive portion of like potential revenue in selling education by being like, this is going to be like, super tactical or like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, two points on that. One, when you go abroad, it's incredibly more expensive, because then when you need Mark Cuban and Gordon Ramsay, like those guys need millions of dollars so your costs are considerably lower. And yeah, because you're selling B2B and it'd be businesses paying for it, you can, I think, charge a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's not like LinkedIn Learning where it's just like, hey, some random guy is going to teach you how to like find leads or whatever. It's like, oh, this guy that like you follow as the CEO does this, like get this for your head of sales. So I think the cost would be a lot lower and you could charge more. Yeah, you're reaching less people, but if you're charging 5 times the amount, then I don't know, what does Masterclass cost? $200 a year?
Yeah.
So 10 times the amount.
Right.
Then you can have generally less less customers, and
I think $2,000 a year is still cheap.
Probably.
Like if you actually think about like really niche high ticket education, like I have friends that sell this stuff, right? And like to people with no money, like 10 grand is like normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. like it's like
it's crazy.
So like I actually think to enterprise you could potentially sell it, and like the spear might be like selling specific. You sell it into the sales team or something.
Yeah.
Right? And you start with you have to start with a niche maybe to do this properly. Is like, we're going to build the best education company for sales, which is probably what you should do. And wild guess, like you should probably start with sales. But and then you could potentially like build out other arms of the education company into being, every department.
Well, that's so like Grant Cardone started as sales training for like car dealerships.
Yeah.
Or like Alex Hormozy was like, business building for gyms. And that maybe came with like some other stuff, but he was charging like $30,000.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that middle ground. And then, I guess you get more broad with more and more.
I'm trying to think what would be like the juiciest niche that has like zero. Like part of me is like, commercialization, like I'm like throwing out random stuff, like commercialization of medtech. Like you could sell like, could you imagine how much you could pay or like how much you could charge for a commercialization of medtech course from someone who's very niche known with like a bunch of PhDs, but like he actually built a company from his technology? It's like, holy shit, like you could just absolutely go in there and rinse.
Yeah.
Like,
and you start to, because like the conference business, for example, is that. But then you're constantly putting on conferences. You have a date. People can't make the date. You have costs and stuff. It's like, just make it a, yeah, I don't know. I think
commercialization of medtech. I think that's for your next thing. I want to build like an education side of, I was telling you this earlier this week, but I want to build like an education side of our business. I think, because I do think like with the software tool thing, it's like at some point it just becomes the biggest problem for companies isn't actually getting the tooling for their people. It's like making sure people are actually using the tooling. Like that's from agencies. That's what we hear is like, we love the software. We don't know how to make sure that our fucking team is like doing this and like using it. And especially with like remote teams now, it's like, I think like productivity is like going down. Like people are doing their fucking laundry during work. And like, that's, I think, the actual problem with like a lot of software. It's just like, they're not actually being like adopted. And then if the softwares aren't getting adopted, it's impossible for them to see an ROI from your software. And then, so you're just waiting to be churned. Right. And so, yeah, I want to build like a big education side. Cause I think it's just like, if you do the education, you also just will help with everything. Like Webflow is another good example of that, dude. If you Google anything about Webflow, they have an amazing article with an amazing video, like anything, any nuance of the product. It's like, and it's not like, oh, like a little tutorial video. It's like, they're funny, they're engaging, like the, again, top tier. And I know the guy that ran education at Webflow, he's now, I don't know if you've seen, he's like off doing his own thing. Like the guy that does all the Webflow videos. And he's been putting out a lot of content about how they made all the Webflow videos so good. And that it also, like he kind of put out the first principles of like creating software tutorial videos. And the startup he's starting, I think, is in the space.
We could do a course with him.
Yeah, dude, that course, like, I mean,
you'd buy that. You'd want a full.
That is his personal brand now, right? And like, he's building a startup about it. We should get him on the podcast. I think we could. He's still kind of small on Twitter.
Ahrefs does an amazing job of that. Like, I learned everything I know about SEO from Ahrefs, and they showed everything in their tool. And so now I just like can't imagine using a different tool. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the same problem where what percentage of your customers are actually then going to go through that.
Right.
Even if it's 10%, it's a lift, but like, yeah. What else you got?
Dude, I mean, I put all my eggs in one basket.
Oh, with that story?
With the Webflow story.
Busted your nut with that.
Yeah, way too early too.
Should have saved it for later on. Well, so Adam Robinson is a guy we both follow.
Yeah.
He owns a company called retention.com. He, it seems like maybe about a year ago, he started getting heavily into like this founder-led, what do you call it?
Founder-led brand growth. I mean, he's put out like a lot of really good posts about his like thesis on the way that like B2B sales is even going.
Yeah.
And so and he wrote this, like he wrote, I think his most viral post is about this. And he's just like, the classic SaaS playbook, which was like, what was that book that everybody reads? It's like Predictable Revenue.
Yeah.
He's like, this is, what Predictable Revenue says. This is why I think it's going to change. And it's kind of in alignment with like what he's doing, which is like, it's not just cold email and outreach. Like, yes, that's going to be a part of it. It's not just like scaling. You can't just scale a software company by like hiring more sales reps. His like general thesis is like it's multiple touch points, but through like very organic content creation by either the founders or the employees of that company. And I mean, a company that I used to work with, I think did this really well, like Triple Whale. Like, dude, all of our leads on any like we were all like super active on Twitter and LinkedIn. And so you didn't just have a head of marketing. You didn't just have a head of brand. Like you had like also like a little mini influencer just creating content every day. Like, it's like the aggregate of that is huge. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So I guess he started doing this more because I think this is more relevant when you get in the B2B space. So like he wanted to get big on LinkedIn. I guess he's been making YouTube videos and stuff, and posting stuff like that. Anyway, so retention.com is a product typically for like e-commerce stores that identifies anonymous traffic, basically gives you the email address of people that are on your website, even if they didn't fill out a form or anything, based on some identifiers. And so, yeah, so he's been doing that for a while. They launched this thing called RB2B, which is a terrible name, and it's retention.com's B2B offering.
Right.
And we signed up for it and got it on our site, and they shut us down because our traffic was really high. And then, so now we have to pay for it. But their model is like, it's free, up to, I guess, a certain, if you identify 1,000 profiles a day, it's not. Anyway, so it got like a good amount of like buzz on LinkedIn. And one post I saw in particular was like completely shitting on it. And the guy was like, this is like disgusting. People never opted in. Like, I'm going to try and like shut this down. Like, I'm going to reach out to like government agencies because like this is totally wrong. Like, this is like, again, the used car salesman of like B2B SaaS. Firstly, what do you think about this identifying? So what they do is they give you the LinkedIn profile, and then we enrich it using Wizza, and we have these emails. Now the question is, do we email them?
So, okay, I mean, one, I really like Adam Robinson. We've like had multiple conversations in person. I do not envy his business for like one very specific reason. Like, the guy must have like a gut of steel. Like, dude, his whole business is surviving on a very specific law that like could be changed at any time in the United States of America. And the United States of America is the only country in the world that has the law written this way. And it's that the United States of America is an opt-out country and not an opt-in country. And it's like, I remember him talking about it at an event I was at, and he was like, he put up like the law. He's like, this is the way it's written in like Canada and the Netherlands. This is the way it's written in the US. And it's like, dude, it's literally 4 word differences. Like, I'm like, holy shit. And so anyway, how do I feel about it? I think, like anything, even with like the 1 click upsell, it's actually not about the way, it's not about the thing that you're doing. It's about the way that you're doing it. Is there always going to be there's people that get mad at you for cold emailing them from emails from Wizza? Do I think that's going to, you would think that the general level of anger would be less than getting a cold email from Wizza. Right? Because, like I went on the website, like we've all been to a website where they replace their logo with your logo and like weird little things like that. Like, and then it could also be like, like, did I visit their LinkedIn profile and get a notification that I viewed their LinkedIn like,
right, you might
it actually is a bit warmer, than like,
it's a lukewarm.
Hey, I notice you're a person in marketing. Buy my stuff. And so, I also think that that's like a reason why they've been able to bootstrap as much, is because like the world is like duality, right? Like, if you have a bunch of people that hate you, that means there's gonna be a bunch of people that love you. And the more people that you hate you, the more people are gonna love you in most cases, especially with stuff like this where there's like a value add on the other end of it. So, I don't, like, we have a similar tool on our site, but we haven't started emailing to people just because I haven't thought about a way to do this in a delightful way.
Right.
But I don't know. I think people need to fucking
chill out.
It's like, people act like their email inbox is like their like sacred playground or something.
Yeah.
It's just like, fucking chill out, dude. Like, the notification pissed you off. Like,
from the guy that doesn't answer his emails.
I don't answer my emails. So yeah, I do not give a fuck about my email inbox.
We get so we have our person directory, and we have millions of pages on people, but with public information. This is like, they've chosen to make it public on LinkedIn. We've scraped that from LinkedIn.
Phone numbers are from LinkedIn?
No, we don't publish that.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Okay.
But people will literally freak out and be like, why are you publishing my private information on a page? Like, I don't even know where you got this. It's like, okay, you're cool to share it on LinkedIn for anyone to find you, and LinkedIn
right.
to sell all their other products to and to advertise to you. But like, now it's a problem. Like, so yeah, people always like freak out about stuff like that. I don't know. What I started doing is, because they give the LinkedIn URL, is just like, I just started connecting with people. I'm like, let me see if someone's like,
So I
how
think,
the hell did that? How did you connect with me? Like,
yeah. I also think there's some people might think it's like serendipitous, like, oh, like I'm just looking at this tool,
Yeah.
or like who
Oh,
knows.
we're
I mean,
meant to
I
meet.
think that's a very small cohort of people. But then it definitely exists, you know. That's sometimes I go in the tool because we're not doing any automations. But I'll go in, I'll like look through them, like if there's anyone interesting that I would like, or like someone aligned, like yeah, I'll go give them a little LinkedIn connection request, and like I think that's
Same.
harmless. It's like
Yeah.
literally public. It's literally what this fucking platform's made for.
Yeah.
Connect
Connecting with random
B2B people, literally like
bulk connecting with random people.
random people, dude. Did you ever? I mean, I think you told me this. That you used to have like an old LinkedIn account that got banned, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember before I had anything going for me, I was like investing in my LinkedIn so early on, dude. I was probably like 16, 17 years old. And like I would just be on my HP laptop, fucking in my bed, just like searching people. And this is when I had no connections, right? So you like actually like to find a person you can actually connect with was like, and then like that sparked in my head. I was like, okay, like if I just do this I could be able to connect with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, this is the most and like this is the highest value thing I could possibly do with my time right now. And it was like I actually think it might have been at the time. And I used to so anyway, I got a lot of LinkedIn connections.
I just crossed 10,000 followers, which includes your connections.
Yeah.
So working up to you.
11,500, buddy.
I'm coming on your heels.
I think we talked last week. I've been trying to go viral on LinkedIn.
How's that going?
Bro, came out so hot with the first post. Literally like couldn't have been like worst confirmation bias of like this is being a good idea, and the like literally like the first post I've done has been the most viral run. It's like 150,000 impressions now, like 1,500 likes or something. All the other, and then I had another one that was like 50,000, and then the rest of them were like 5,000, 6,000, whatever. But I did one the other day that I thought was gonna, and you definitely didn't see it. Nobody saw it.
What was it?
Bro, I thought this thing, I'm like, I sent it to like someone else. I'm like, bro, I'm about to fucking growl up LinkedIn, bro. But their fucking algo shut me down. I'll bring up the LinkedIn post. I was like, this is like a winning format for me, which is showing advertising.
Yeah.
And it was like, you'll never see anything like this on LinkedIn. And so the post was, sex sells and that will never change. 12 clever ads that are not safe for work. Obviously, LinkedIn read NSFW and just fucking throttled this post because there's no way. And like the only people that commented are people like in my engagement group. And I look at impressions 179.
Oh, so they literally, yeah.
Dude, they literally just were like, this isn't. So like part of me now is thinking, I can't use the word sex and I can't use the word not safe for work. And then maybe like even some of the stuff I use the word like, because like one of them is like an AIDS ad. One of them is like, it says orgy in like the campaign name. And so I think if I,
I'm not surprised.
Bro, but I think if I clean this up, like imagine you see this on LinkedIn, bro. And then like, look at these ads. Like they're actually clever. Like this one's like fucking C. It's like the C looks like a vagina. And like dude, this one's hilarious. Like looking for a job. It's like a blowjob doll.
Oh.
Like they do that. These are like, this is great content.
So I guess sex doesn't sell on LinkedIn.
Sex does not sell on LinkedIn, but I think it's because I'm the Andrew Tate of LinkedIn. They're like fucking holding me down, dude.
You're getting, what's it called when you
Dude, the Matrix. I'm getting a Matrix.
the Matrix is coming after you.
Dude, but I was like, dude, I was cooking this one up, and I was like, there's gonna be some people that like, but there's gonna be. I was so excited. Like, there's gonna be a lot of people that fucking hated I posted this on LinkedIn, and I was like so ready for those comments because like this is just gonna like blow this post up. It's like. I mean, yeah, like it's not even like this post didn't perform. Like nobody saw it. Nobody saw this post. Got 174.
So I did a YouTube video on the LinkedIn algorithm. So I looked into it a lot. And the first like line of defense is what they call spam traps. And part of that thing, that majorly part of that very important piece is making sure like there's not stuff that's not safe for work. Really? So you're literally right in there.
I literally wrote not safe for work.
Shut me down.
I hope I didn't like fucking. I was gonna post one today, but I was like so distraught, or so like just dude because I was so excited about this one because I was like I cannot wait for all these people to say like all these like people be like fuck this guy, like I was like so excited for it, but then so anyway But now I'm like, I definitely have to change like the metadata in the PDF that I upload and like just make sure it like feels. But I hope they didn't like shadow ban my entire account.
No, I don't think so. I doubt it. But yeah, the LinkedIn algorithm is interesting. They do. You ever notice how when you like I feel like it's changed a bit. It's gotten a bit better, but like always like the top LinkedIn posts would like hundreds of thousands of likes are always like, a guy came in for an interview and
yeah. They're like feel
he seemed a little down, and like rather than starting the interview, like I asked him what's wrong, like it's some shit like that. So
well, that's the thing, right? Like if you think about, I think sometimes I always like try to like my mindset is like I want to write something that I want to read. The issue with doing that in like the LinkedIn, I think that's usually like a good frame of reference. The issue of doing that as a founder is that the number of founders on LinkedIn is probably a fraction of a percent of the users.
Yeah,
and so what you actually want is just like corporate people.
What will a corporate person like?
Exactly.
And
that's why LinkedIn is so fucking cringe.
But LinkedIn like actively has people monitoring, and if it fits their like values, which is like that kind of like uplifting work stuff, they'll like boost like it. What happened to you, they'll boost it like
right.
Especially.
Bro, I got a message the other day on LinkedIn and I was like so happy about. Someone messaged me, he goes, Zach, I appreciate you being one of the only funny people on LinkedIn. And I was like, fuck,
he must have seen that post.
Dude, I made it. No, this was before the I think the funny one he saw was actually one that did like pretty decently well. Did you see I stole one of your one of your post formats?
No.
The movie one. I did it on the BlackBerry 3600, not crazy. I thought that one was gonna, but again, like my hook was like BlackBerry's Canada's largest technology failure. If you're not in Canada, it's like that hook actually isn't probably really good.
Yeah.
No, the one I think he thought was funny was like 5 celebrity like fake celebrity partnerships I came up with. So I did like lots of noise about the Michael Cerave or the Michael Cera x Cerave partnership, and then my hook was like I think it sucks, which I actually think it's good, but like I want many people were like, why do you think it sucks? I thought it was so good. But then anyway, here I'll go through these. So these are my alternatives of like other brand partnerships that I think could be good. One is Reese's Witherspoon, which I think that's one of the best ones. Then I have Dwayne the Rockport Johnson for Rockport shoes. I don't
know if Rockport can afford Dwayne the Rock.
I don't think so, but I mean, I think it's worth the investment. It's like a moonshot. I have Rosetta and Emma Stone. I have Momoa and Chandon Champagne, which I also think is a good one. Is that how you say Chandon?
I don't know.
And then I have Reynolds Wrap, which I didn't even need to make any amendments for. Ryan Reynolds Wrap, dude. Like the fact that hasn't happened yet.
That should totally
happen. Dude, I think Reynolds Wrap is probably like probably printing.
I mean, Reese's Witherspoon, come on.
Reese's Witherspoon, like they could do that for sure.
They could make like a spoon-shaped one.
Dude, I had so much fun making these. Like it was actually like I've been doing the LinkedIn posts at like 7 a.m. So I'm just like having my coffee, like giggling to myself in the dark and being like, I'm the fucking funniest person in the world.
That's why, it's always best. Like I like how you can do these like ad breakdown stuff. Like for me, that's not really like relevant.
No, but dude, your version of it is cold emails, like cringy cold emails, and really good cold emails. Dude, that works way better on LinkedIn than the ad stuff. Like 100%. Like that's what you should do, dude. You should only post like, and then you could even do like, if you wanted to be funny, you could like start writing like really tongue-in-cheek cold emails for random companies and tag them, or like tag like the head of sales. But like if I was writing a cold email for this is what I would do, and just make it crazy funny. And I've been using ChatGPT as like a brainstorming person. Like I just go back and forth. I'm like, oh, like what would be like a word that rhymes with this? And like, dude, it's like ChatGPT for exporting stuff or like just getting posts is bad. But as a brainstorming person, it's like
that's what it's best for, which is so funny because we always thought AI would be like it'll get the thing done and humans will take care of the creative. But it's like, no, it's actually better at like I was trying to name our new pricing plans. We ended up just going with something simple, but I was like, give me, because it can come up with so much. Give me 50 magical related words that I could potentially use for a pricing plan. And like a lot of them are garbage, but some of them I'm like, oh, that's really
like, dude,
cool.
Like last night I was thinking, actually, so one of my friends, he's getting into 3D animation, funny enough. And he was like, oh, like he sent me this like cool, like spinning disc, like a CD, and it looked like really sick. And he's like, oh, if you like need this like render, like let me know if like you have a use for it. And I was like, oh dude, like I should come out with like a 4-play like work playlist on Spotify. And I was like, okay, I literally just wanted like one of these renderings. I was like, what's the use case? And so I went to ChatGPT and I was like, what's what's like 10 tongue-in-cheek like funny names that I could name? Like I get all the context, software company in 4-play, we do ads, and it was like it came up with like Hey, I can bring it up. It came up with rhythms to ROI. It came up with Prelude to Profits, Eargasmic,
Let's go.
Sonic Seductions, Harmonious Hustle. Like, it's just like, okay, cool. I don't know what I'm going with yet, but yeah. And I've started curating little playlists.
I'm gonna take that idea.
Dude, we should do like a little morning coffee chats like on
We
Zoom.
just jump on Zoom.
Yeah, and we could just like
Okay, let's
write
do
LinkedIn
that.
posts. Okay. Do a little LinkedIn coffee, and
And then we'll review each other's. You have to
Yeah.
say one thing you don't like, one thing you do like.
okay. And then like I've also like I found that I was like, oh, I'm gonna try to write like a bunch and like, but I actually kind of like I think it would be good. Like, obviously, it's more efficient to like write a bunch of them and then like, schedule them and all this kind of stuff. But I was like, okay, if I want to become a better writer, is it good that I do like 2 hours on a Saturday, or is it better that I do 32 minutes every single day?
Yeah.
And it's like, 32 minutes every single day to become a better writer, 100%. And then I also can like you get connected to the performance a lot more. Where like, you get really excited for this thing, rather if you just have them like going like, oh, this one worked, but you could also be like, okay, why didn't that work? And then and like iterate consistently on a daily basis until you're like, okay, this is the formula. So.
And when you're excited about something, you want to just post it.
Also, this format, I think I've only done one, but considering the topic, it performed really well. One of my friends, Matt Gray, I looked at his recent LinkedIn post. He has not posted a LinkedIn post that isn't in this format in 2 months. The format is he writes a long thing and then he creates essentially like a sketchbook of exactly what he wrote. And so this one was like, I wanted to do a post
Did you
on
draw
like
that?
Yeah. He wanted to do like, oh, like I wanted to do one of those like books on how I'm becoming a fierce competitor. And then so like the hook was like, I found like a Phil Knight quote. It was like, I don't need to be the best. I just need to be the most competitive. It was like, here's 5 books to hack an unstoppable competitive mindset. And then so all of these are just like, and again, I got all of these kind of like key learnings from ChatGPT on each one of the books. Like they're all books that I had read, but I was like, give me like key learnings about being a competitor. And then I just like literally like wrote it on a fucking piece of paper, made little this one outperformed like the other ones that are like, so I think anyway, I think this is a good format. And it's like you're scrolling through, you see there's something about noticing that someone put in like handmade effort.
Yeah.
That is just like, oh, like there must be something here.
Yeah.
You know, like
I have a Chrome extension for you. It's called Clio, Kleo. And what it'll do is, so what it does is if you go to anyone's profile,
it shows you their highest ranking.
It'll show you their most engaged posts.
Okay, this is cool. I've been using I've been using Taplio, which is like they have a similar thing.
Okay.
But their fucking Chrome extension is always like breaking my LinkedIn. And so, because like, this looks like it's a slide over panel, this is embedded. So I'm going to change. And I haven't been scheduling posts, as I said. So I'm going to try Clio.
Yeah, this thing's free. So.
Sick. All right. Well, that's an hour.
Sweet.
That one went by quick. All right. Thank you for watching this episode. If you want to subscribe, that'd be great. See ya.